It's on.
You can turn it off.
Turn it off?
Yeah.
Perfect. Everything's off.
Perfect. That's how it needs to be. What is up? How's everybody doing?
Hi guys, and welcome to the show. Come on, let's go.
Do you want to put on your hat? Maybe
I'm gonna put it tonight.
You sure?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're still bringing this show to us.
I'm just cleaning right here. The dust.
Okay, that's kind of creepy. What's up from Cali? Hey, Marty, how's it going? We did shut it off, right?
It is off. It is.
All right, just gotta wait to go to sleep.
Take.
What's up from Myrtle Beach?
That's right.
Do you want to try to... Jeez, that cardboard in there looks so tacky.
I don't want to wear it. Just to keep it in there. You know, I have one at home. That's right.
All right, so you want to try cutting a promo this week? Breathe.
I do every day.
Yeah, okay. Breathe, and let's get it in one.
Hi guys. On today's show.
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's hi guys. Today's show is brought to you by, not hi guys. Today's show.
See, that's when nobody hires me. That's why.
So you're gonna give up like that?
I have to.
Why?
You have to. If you don't make it, just give up. Do something else.
That's not how I roll, but
No?
I mean,
There you go, man. Yeah. What are we doing?
well,
Because we gotta think.
I mean, you're taking
things to do.
you're taking a long time with trying to just cut the ad, but okay. All right, so want me to show you how it's done? Yeah, here's how it's done. Hi guys, today's show is brought to you by Morel. That's right, you can find them at morelhifi.com as well as Morel.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
Morel_you America.
Yeah.
All right, well, I got the first part better than you.
Perfect.
All right, good enough, guys. Hey, check them out.
What are we doing?
First off, how was your Father's Day?
Great.
Somebody asked.
Awesome.
Does Morel have a... Yes, it's the Maximo HEs. So the replacement for the Maximus is the Maximo HE. Same speaker, high efficiency. They just moved it into the other line.
Very cool.
So that it will retain continuity. Fernando, go grab a pair and we'll show you what it looks like. Tech tip of the day. Really, you're going to want to stay tuned for the 6:30 show on Facebook that we do, because we're going to show you... I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys... Okay, let's not trip on these lights. I thought it'd be interesting to show you guys this setup here and what it's used for testing. Let me shut that off. I don't need that on. So what we have is the IRTA2, an iPad, obviously a Toslink adapter, and a test speaker. And these are all going to come together to show you some interesting stuff that is going on in the back of the Porsche right now. As far as like an update, all the speakers are in finally, so that's awesome. Fuse holders in place. Not that any of that matters because I'm working on wiring up the amplifiers now. Tech tip: if you really want to protect an amplifier, like if you're going to be drilling close to the amplifier like we did here, put some blue tape on there and then put some duct tape over it. Duct tape, this stuff is still paper. Duct tape is obviously duct tape. Way stronger. So that's why this duct tape is on here, because I had to drill these and I wanted not to nick the top of the amplifier. Obviously that would suck. I'm checking this out. So these are the Morel. So it's called Maximo. Hold on.
Right there.
Oh, so Maximo Ultra HE 6.5 inch woofer. This is a Mark II is what it's called for some reason, even though there's never been a Mark I. But yes, this is the Maximus set. Just
move to this line,
updated a tad.
Yeah.
And here you go. That's it. Same
and this
price.
show is brought to you by morelhifi.com. And you can find here a Morel_America. There you go. Boom. Done.
It took you like 3 days. Way to go. But yeah, so these are the replacements for those. Yeah. So way to go on that one.
Look at the crossover, dude. Easy to install.
Hold on. Dude. This Instagram is sucking. No, a lot. It froze
You have
up.
you have a bad service. That's why.
That goes without saying. Sorry about that. Instagram is just terrible right now.
I know, guys.
I don't know what the heck is going on. Anyways, so those are the new Morels.
HE.
Can you explain the difference in horn shapes for compression drivers? Wrong guy, man. Wrong guy. I'm not a compression driver kind of guy. So
Just compression.
I feel like I'm under pressure all the time. But no, I honestly don't have any idea what they're for. I'm sure there is a ton. I mean, I know what they're for, but I couldn't tell you the differences as far as, round versus horn or any of that nonsense that goes on behind it. Sorry. Do Type RS fit Honda no cutting?
Type R's?
You mean the Type R's? No. The only speakers that will fit a Honda without cutting is like the Kicker RS, Kicker R, or what is it?
CS?
No, the R, higher end, RS. So, yeah, the red ones. The Kicker red speakers.
Okay.
Why are you so confused?
I don't remember what's the Kicker RS.
Speakers! Dude, speakers. They make 3 lines of speakers. CS, the R's, and the Q's.
Kicker?
Kicker.
Okay.
We literally put them in Haley's car.
KS.
There you
RS.
go. Who cares? But you're pretending like you don't know the product line. Come on,
RS.
man.
Yeah. RS.
Sounds good.
You
KS?
are yeah.
That's why I'm looking to you, because I can't know everything.
No, if you want to put something in the course, you gotta play with it.
You gotta cut it.
Yeah, they R's fit with the space.
Well, no, but see, that's the thing though. The R's won't fit because
that
R has been discontinued. They're gone. Okay. So you'd have to find the old R's with the neo magnet.
Right.
The new R's, big conventional magnet. So it's going to be huge and not fit.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of that, just cut it so you don't have to deal.
You might not have an air saw to cut it.
I mean, you can go to Home Depot, rent it. They rent it.
They don't rent an air saw.
They do.
No, dude, you could go buy one at the cheap tool store for $19.
Maybe they don't have money to buy it.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Here's a thought. You know what fits without anything?
What?
Is the Morel?
Yes, there you go. See, what's the name of the Morels?
Jesus, the Elate.
No, they're not Elate.
No, they're not. Virtus Carbon Nanos. No, it's the Virtus Carbon Nanos.
Wow. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hello,
just
guys.
cut the Honda.
What's
Exactly.
up,
What are we playing with?
Yeah, just cut it. Just cut
it.
the Honda. Yeah. Looking to have my sub box for Morel subs. Hold on. Looking to have my sub box for Morel subs from sealed to ported after seeing how small it could be. There you go. Morel Carbon Nanos. See, there you go.
See, you should work here.
I don't like it when my dads fight.
What's that?
He says I don't like it when my dads fight. Because we were arguing there.
Oh, alright.
Yeah. No.
That's what we do every day.
I mean, come on, guys. It's 6 days a week. We can't all be strawberries.
We have to argue, man, for something.
Usually, you find something just to argue about. Whether it's right or wrong, you'll still find something to argue about.
How are we gonna go through this day without arguing?
Very carefully, actually. It's kind of nice. No money for airsaw, but can afford Virtus.
There you go.
Yeah.
No.
Right. But no, I mean, there again, the Kicker.
The Kicker KS.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will fit no problem.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would love to work with you guys. No, then you got to put up with him all day. He's going to argue with you about everything.
I will argue with anyone.
Can you rent a beard trimmer at Home Depot? Oh, dang!
You can.
Dang! You know, the sad thing is we have one right over there. It's where I used to cut my hair. So, I mean, that was good.
No, hey, man. I'm just going to leave it like that.
Okay, pubic face. Anyways, moving on. On vacation, I wish soon enough. Actually, like 2 weeks. We can, 2 weeks. God. Have you heard the Illusion full-size sub or the Raven sub? We did hear the original Raven sub many, many years ago before it decided to get converted into a car audio woofer, like the original home audio version. Nick had it in his truck, and they built a box that weighed like 400 pounds to put it in, and it sounded really good. However, like if you're thinking like loud sundown style loud, it's not what it's made for. It's more of, it's really expensive and it's not going to be the loudest subwoofer you've ever heard kind of thing. We had an interesting conversation with a gentleman the other day where we had taken out one of these Helix tweeters because he was out front. He just bought speakers by the pound and probably about 30 pounds of them. And we were talking to him, and I was showing it to him, and I was like, you realize that this costs more than all the speakers in your car? And he's like, damn, no way, man. That's ridiculous. This got to be the loudest tweeter in the world. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's probably the quietest tweeter in your whole vehicle. And he was just blown away. It's a different concept. So, yeah, it's very strange. Memphis equipment and a 2019 Ram. Do you have and advice? No, I'm not really familiar with the Memphis stuff. They just came out with a DSP and some of the new amplifier lines. The software they're using in the DSP is what we call the Chinese DSP software, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a thing. A lot of manufacturers use that, Alpine one of them. It's good software, it's solid, it works, it's pretty reliable. I happen to like it a lot. But that nice thing about it is it's fairly simple to use software, so their DSP is pretty solid. When adding a DSP, how do you turn off the crossovers on both head unit and use the DSP crossovers? It's going to depend on the head unit. Some head units you can turn off, some head units you can't. So it just depends on your head unit. Just remember, if you're crossing something over and you can't turn them off, which I don't think I've ever run into a situation where you can't, just move the crossovers outside of the crossover points you're trying to use on the crossover. So, for example, if you're going to crossing your speakers over at like 80 hertz, turn the crossover down to like 50 hertz, and then it'll never affect the crossover points that you've chosen. And the opposite is true for the subwoofer. Turn the subwoofer crossover up to like 200 hertz, and then you can do whatever you want there. It's never a dumb question. Dumb question. If in a Ford I put 6.5-inch components in the front, 6x in the 6x8 locations, and 6x8s in the rear, is that good, or should I do 6.5 all the way around? That's not a dumb question. It's actually a fairly popular question. There's no problem with doing that. It's rear fill for one, so it doesn't really matter. Matching the tweeters is probably more important. So like trying to get something that's very similar in series and or make. But no, that's something that we used to do a lot of, because like Alpine, ours that we were talking about earlier, not the Pirate noise, they would make a 6.5 component, but they didn't make a 5x7/6x8 component. So we'd put the 6x8 coaxial in the rear and the 6.5 component up front, and they came with nice little brackets and stuff like that. So it's perfectly fine. It's a good idea. What do you got? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. When you go full active, are you not using all the power your amp has? When you go passive, you're using all the power that your amp has. That's one of those weird questions that I don't really think gets asked or understood properly. Your amplifier is more than likely going to be putting out way more power than you'll ever need for your speakers. And if it isn't, then you're just going to turn up the gain and distort the hell out of it and blow the speakers. But playback of sound, real sound, into an amp through an amplifier out to a speaker is not what most people think or understand. So like when you're setting the gain on an amplifier, you're playing a test tone that you would never play sound through. Like you'd never play 1,000 hertz test tone with speakers connected to it, because it simply can't happen. You blow the things up. You'd set them on fire. You'd destroy your tweeter. When you look at a speaker, pick one and use the tinsel leads. The tinsel leads are the little leads. Okay, here. Hand me one of those right there, because that's easy to see. No, hand me one of those, because that tinsel lead is really easy to see. So these are some tinsel leads. These are the factory 7-inch mid bass. So these are the tinsel leads. Now, when you look at this tinsel lead as compared to, let's say, a subwoofer. So let's say this handles 500 watts, and the subwoofer handles 500 watts. These are not 500 watt tinsel leads that you're going to see on a subwoofer. The subwoofer is going to be a lot bigger because you're going to actually get that power to the subwoofer. This, if you put that big of an amplifier on it, the way sound is going to play back. See, like, there you go. Look at the size of these tinsel leads. All right. So in order for a tweeter to handle this amount of power, like you get a 250 watt tweeter or something like that, it would have to have tinsel leads like that, and they don't, because when sound is playing back, where these are made to play, you're not getting all that power. You're not getting real power is totally different. Like, sound power is not the same. Most tweeters only handle about 1 or 2 watts, even though they'll say they'll handle 250 watts. And you have to put a 250 watt amp on them. By the time the sound is at the tweeter, it's 1 or 2 watts. Because if you put anything more of that, you'll just blow them. Yeah, I mean, they'll just destroy themselves. It's one of those, like, questions that you ask and you think about it and it kind of makes sense, but then you just don't believe it because it can't make sense. Because why did I buy this 500 by 4 amplifier to put on a set of tweeters, and I'm not getting 500 watts to my tweeters? You can't. It's just like you would, like, no. Now, if you go buy a set of giant horn tweeters, you know, with a thermal heat sink on them and all that, and you put 2200 watts on them, they got big tinsel leads, and yeah, you know, you probably need like a 10,000 watt amp to get them to play that. But you know, it's just one of those things that there's a lot of gray area here in the reality of what car audio really does, or audio really does, and what everyone thinks it does, and it's not even worth arguing about. You either get it or you don't, and that's no way a bad thing, and not to talk down to you, but I'm not. It's one of those, if you really think about it, it kind of makes sense, and then you go, oh, well, Jesus, you know? And then you look at a tweeter that's like 1 watt, 1 meter, 107 dB, and you're like, okay, so let's say you take an amplifier, a 50 watt amplifier, and you take one of those super horn tweeters that's 1 watt, 1 meter, it's 107 dB, and you play pink noise. Okay, because pink noise is different than a test tone. It's actually designed to replicate the performance of real music. All right, and you pick a fixed volume on your radio, let's say 25. You play that pink noise, and that tweeter is like 107 dBs of efficiency. It's just killing it. It'll be way loud. All right. If you play that mid-range, it's, let's say, 93, 95 dB, it's going to sound a lot lower. And you're like, well, what the heck? So now I got to turn my tweeter down. Same 50 watts. The tweeter may handle 150 watts. The mid-range may handle 150 watts. There's different things happening there. You know, so you may want that tweeter to play that loud, but it's not necessary. But it is for some people. I don't know. There again, this gets really deep into the weeds. Did they tell you if the new Audison has an up mixer for center channel? Do you remember? I don't remember. I thought they had something.
I thought they have something.
I know they have something for the rear effect thing. I don't remember about the car we sat in. Didn't have a center channel, and I don't remember. Honestly, don't remember. I was out of the class for part of that because I had to go take pictures of other classes. And Fernando was just up front goofing off.
Yeah. Don't remember.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't remember. But if we'll find out, and then we'll talk about it more. Happy Father's Day! Happy Father's Day to you. Is that why 6-channel amps usually have less than 100 watts per channel? Yeah. I mean, yes. You know, the thing is that everybody wants 500 watts. Everybody wants 500 by 6, 100 by 6, 2 million by 6. We get caught up a lot of the times in the wattage game. And what you really need when designing a system is a nice balance. Like the average system, what you need is a nice balance of power and efficiency of the speaker. I can do a full Audison Prima or Forza system matching up the speakers to the amplifiers, and you'd get in there and you would not, you'd be like, wow, that's only 70 watts? That's insane. But it works, and they all play well together. I mean, Bose has been doing it for years, guys. You know? But then again, you know, sometimes the opposite is true. You get this big magnet, big speaker that does need power to move. You know, if you take some Utopia M's, big 3-inch voice coil like the Elates, big 3-inch voice coils, they are going to need some power to get up and dance. You know, they're not that efficient, and, you know, you're going to have to put a ton of power in it just to get it to see enough power. So that's the other thing, too, where, like, why do you buy this 500-watt amp for your tweeters? Well, because you want 3 watts, maybe, you know, as opposed to, let's say, half a watt. So, yeah, sometimes you're buying bigger just to get a little bit more power, and it's almost insulting when you figure out, oh, that's really only putting, okay, well, they're loud, they sound good. Does anyone make an amplifier built just for tweeters? I mean, any amplifier is good enough for tweeters as long as it has the high range frequency response that the tweeter is looking for. So if you mean like just comes with a crossover with a 10-time multiplier switch built into it and it's a 2-channel, that I don't know of, but like a lot of the higher end 4-channel amplifiers will come with a bandpass and a high pass, so that you can do tweeters and mid bass. One of the most affordable versions of that I've seen is the Kenwood Exelon 4-channel. It's like the 404 XR 404.4, something like that, or 604.4. I think it's the 404.4 XR. That's really one of the most affordable amplifiers like that, and it's like super thin, and it's high res, and it's all that fun stuff. So what that means for your tweeters is because it's high res, means the output of the amplifier is there all the way up to 40,000 hertz, whether you need it or not. It's just nice for tweeters. Yeah. Same concept as horsepower. Does not go. It is the exact same concept of horsepower. Lots of horsepower, but it's the horsepower where the wheel meets the road that is the one that matters. Correct. I'm trying to wrap my head around full active. Okay. You're overthinking it. I can guarantee you're overthinking it. And it's kind of ironic. So when this all started years and years and years ago, back in the 80s, when it, like full active was just how we did everything, meaning there was passive crossovers, you'd have to build them. That seemed like a lot of work. And everything was a 2-channel amplifier, but there was a lot of electronic crossovers out there. So what you'd do is you'd buy a tweeter amplifier, a mid-range amplifier, and a subwoofer amplifier, and possibly something for rear. And then you'd have a 3-way electronic crossover. And what you really just need to think about is no matter what the amplifier is doing, the speaker has a certain criteria that has to be met. So like a tweeter needs to play between X and Y frequency. And usually X, which is the lowest point, is the most important. The passive crossover takes that into consideration. When they build that, there's some fun stuff that they do in order with slopes and varying gaps between frequencies. But let's say the most common crossover point for a tweeter is like 3200 hertz. So whether you're using a cap and a coil to make a 12 dB 3200 hertz or 3.2 crossover point, or you're using an amplifier with an adjustable crossover that can cross it over at 3.2, the tweeter is seeing the same sound. Okay. Now, where it gets confusing is that some people will sit there and say, "Oh, that passive crossover sucks up a lot of power and reduces," and it's like, not really. Does it? Yeah, minuscule amounts of power. Can it sound better? Well, of course it can sound better because you're not going through a cap and a coil. And if you use a cheap cap and a cheap coil, yeah, can it add some effects to the speaker? It can. However, some manufacturers do that on purpose. Like they'll pick specific caps and coils to make their speakers sound a specific way. So there's a lot of going into it. So let's look at this guy right here. All right, hold on. So this is a Focal crossover right here. And it's a two-way. It's bi-ampable, which means like it's a whole other thing. Let's just call it a two-way crossover for right now. Keep things kind of simple. And you can see there's coil, resistor, coil, capacitor. This is probably like a $100, $120 passive crossover. It's very expensive. This is a three-way. This is another two-way. So there's a big difference. Like this is a two-way here, and this is a two-way here. This is for a $700 set of speakers, and this is for a $300 set of speakers. So there's going to be a substantial difference in quality between these two. But at the end of the day, this will cross over the tweeter at whatever that manufacturer feels it needs, and this will do the same thing. When you go... Oh, hold on. Sorry, guys. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. When you... All right. Sorry. Okay. When a manufacturer picks that crossover point, it's to make the tweeter sound the best that it can. When you go full active, you can now step outside of what the manufacturer wants you to do, step outside of the safe zone, and pick the frequency that you want. You have to be a little bit more responsible, though, because, yeah, you can totally screw it up. That's why we're like, if you don't understand crossover points, just use the passives and play it safe. You don't want to blow up a really expensive set of speakers. That would suck. The performance you're going to get out of going full active isn't necessarily the crossover point. That's one part of it, and that's a big part of it. But where it becomes like more fun is level control, because now you have an amplifier that's just powering two tweeters, an amplifier that's just powering two mid-range. And just like your subwoofer, like a lot of people have a 4-channel amp and a subwoofer amp. And you can control like the gain on the subwoofer amp, you control, so you're mixing between the two. With a active system, you now have gain control or level control for your tweeter to mid-range to subwoofer mix. Once you've found out the maximum level, unclipped level of where your tweeters can play, mid-range can play, that's not the end of it. A lot of people will go, oh, I want to use a DD1, a distortion detector. I want to set my gains as loud as I can get it. No. That's not what you do. You figure out where that point is, and then you start to turn it down. So, for example, if you have a tweeter with 103 dBs of efficiency and your mid-range has 95 dBs of efficiency, more than likely you're going to be turning the tweeter down. Being able to do that with the gain on the amplifier, meaning turn it down, is really cool. So you can bring that down, and you can do better blending than what the manufacturer has chosen with the passive crossover network. Because some passive crossovers you'll see have like a plus or minus 2 and a 0, which is them giving you some control to do that. But being able to use the amplifier or the DSP to turn the gain down, once you've already figured out what the max level is, to blend with the mid-range can be a lot more fun and can definitely give you a much better result. Then if you take that and go DSP with it, then it gets totally different, because now you can EQ left, you can EQ right for the tweeters, and you can do all kinds of fun shit. So in the end, is active better? Yes, but only if you take full advantage of all the options that you're going to be using. If you're just doing it to do it, it's not worth the time. Besides your sponsor, is there any brand you truly enjoy working with? I like the VXI stuff from JL. I think they're pretty cool. I like their software. I think that's neat. I mean, there's a lot of brands that I just like playing with. You know, anytime I get the opportunity to work with something new that's cool, I want to play with it. Yeah, my tastes are probably a little bit higher. Meaning, I just don't want to play with some $200 amplifier that it's cool and pretty and has a neat color. It's really not going to do it for me. I want something a little bit more exotic. That's kind of how we fall. Fernando, how you feel on that?
I play with anything. It doesn't matter.
There you go.
Yeah.
What drill do you use? The DeWalt one I got is big and hefty, need compact design. We use Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Why did I say Makita? Jeez. Oh, they both start with an M. Totally screws me up. We have probably one of every drill they make. So they make the little tiny one here that's like a semi-impact / drywall screw type thing that's really sexy. That's just a conventional drill. We have all their little impacts. Milwaukee makes a ton of stuff and these are all the 12 volts. And what's cool about these is you can buy different size battery packs.
Yeah.
So you have the small, like he's got here, this little battery pack, which is really cool. And then you can buy the bigger one that actually allows you to stand the drill up. And they make one size that we just found out that's bigger than that, which is what we have in the impact wrench, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
For the new Chevys with bows, what LGDs do you use? Green. You want to use the greens. Hola. What's up, Arturo? How's it going? JBL DSP amp would be nice. Yes, they are. They're fun to play with. Or the Infinity. I think Treetop Dad is asking about amp specific for tweeters. Might be that Audison or someone which has 2 channels of pure Class A. Yeah, so you have the Voce 5.1K it's a high biased AB amplifier for those 2 channels. It's not really Class A. It's just with the bias turned up as high as it is, they can call it Class A. If you want a amplifier that does high bias, or has variable bias, I should say, Ground Zero makes that. That's what's in his car right now, which is the uranium, right? Mm-hmm. So we have the 6-channel uranium in his car. They make a 2-channel and a 4-channel. They are extra large. They are not small, because you need that in order for heat dissipation. So trying to find something small that is going to give you like Class A output or high biased Class AB, that's going to be nearly impossible, because Tony is working on a high-end Class AB or something like that, D'Amore, and he hasn't done it because he's been spending his time on the other stuff. But they're all going to be big. They're all going to be big because you got to be able to dissipate that heat. Because basically what's happening is, when I mean by high bias, is your output device is on AB. It's called AB because it has characteristics of an A class amplifier, but it's a B amplifier. B amplifiers, when your sine wave with your 2 output devices, it would go on, and right when it hit the crossover point, and I don't mean filter point, I mean crossover between on your 0 axis, so you have your plus, that whole sine, cosine, and tangent crap that everyone hated. Anyways, when you have your positive sine wave, it would stop at the 0 line, and then your output from negative would start back up. And that was Class B, so it'd be like, make noise, make noise. Every time you got your crossover point over the 0 axis, it would make noise. So then they figured out, if we kept the output device on a tad bit past the 0 and turned it on a tad bit before the 0 so that they overlapped each other, then it would sound better, because you wouldn't hear your output devices turning on and off. So that's why it's called AB, because an A class amplifier keeps your output device on all the time. There's still a positive and a negative output device, but they never shut off. So that overlap between the 0 point it just never stops. It's just they're little room heaters. So when you can variable the bias, what they're talking about is that crossover point on the 0 axis. Like if you want high bias, that's like these chips never turn off, and the flow between the 2 is really nice. And yeah, it creates a ton of heat because the output devices stay on all the time. So that's why it's hard to make something like that very small without some super, super efficient like thermal regulation. Good luck. Have you worked with any DD audio components? No, we haven't. When integrating an amp and a sub into factory amplifiers, anything else needed, LOC, DSP, or is it straightforward? I think it's probably the farthest from straightforward. It's actually the most difficult thing you could possibly do, depending on the car. They do make tools now to make your life a little bit easier, So the problem you run into when just doing something as simple as a subwoofer is, one, making sure you actually get a speaker that plays sub sound. That's why we have our tool, which is the IRTA2. It's an electrical RTA, so you can play pink noise, you can see what kind of bass roll-off you have. Some new cars have an active crossover on some of the channels of the radio, meaning 80 hertz down. There's no bass coming anywhere. You add a subwoofer to that, it's 12 dB down at 80 hertz. So, you know, where the sub range that you're trying to play at is way by 50 hertz, 30 hertz, it's way down here in the doesn't exist range. So you need like 4 times the amount of power, or a way to EQ that signal back to flat. That's what a key lock from Kicker will do, is they'll EQ that signal back to flat. The Key 501 amplifier also has that built in, which makes it nice because there again you get that. If you have a DSP, then you can use the DSP equalization circuit to go back in and fix that bass problem. And then you have the old faithful, which is bass roll-off, which is where as you turn up the volume, the impact goes down and you lose some of what, you know, the bass that you have just kind of disappears. And some cars have both bass roll-off and high-pass filtering. It sucks. So, yeah, it can be a pain. Sometimes you get lucky, other times you don't. So, nothing straightforward about it. It's getting harder and harder. But, you know, hey, it's just how life goes. What are cheap 6x9s for Dodge Ram truck? I don't know. What do you want to do? Are you just putting in new 6x9s? Does it have an Alpine system in it? Is it a base model system? If it's got an Alpine system in it, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Because you're not going to be happy with anything you do unless you're planning on adding an amplifier or something like that. But a Dodge from the factory, that's a subwoofer. So you just can't throw any old 6x9 in there and get sound out of it. If you have the Alpine system, it's a true subwoofer. It's actively crossed over, and if you put like a coaxial in there, you won't even hear the tweeter, and you'll be like, what the hell, man? Plus, if it's an Alpine system, it's a different ohm load, so you got all that whole nonsense going on, and you just, I'll just get the Infinities or the JBLs. It doesn't work like that. But if it's just a stock Dodge system, then, you know, pretty much any semi-shallow 6x9 will give you a better sound than what that has. But I would recommend looking at like the Kenwood Exelon 6903 set. It comes with a 3.5 and a 6x9. The 6904s can go into the rear. However, this tweeter does stick out, so we'll put a bulge in the rear door grill. Yeah. Can you do mixed impedance loads on a D6-1200? Say 4 channels of 4 ohm with the remaining 2 channels being 2 ohm. Yeah, you can do that. You know, yeah, because I mean that's the same thing as bridging. So 2 ohm stereo, 4 ohm mono is the amplifier sees it basically the same, basically. And we did that for years before the 5-channel came out. So we would run 4 channels of 4 ohm, and then we would run that channel 5 and 6 bridge to a subwoofer, or we'd run it at 2 ohms to 2 subwoofers. So yes, you can do that all the time. It'll do it. What car audio product maker has gotten the most stale? My mind goes to MTX. I mean, that's a solid pull there, man. Wouldn't you agree?
What car audio?
Yeah, it says what car audio product maker has gotten the most stale? My mind goes to MTX. I mean, that's a solid pull. Because, I mean, when you think of car audio, very rarely do you think MTX anymore. And, I mean, they just came out with some new products and stuff like that. So it's like, I mean, we haven't seen an MTX product in here in years, if ever.
Okay. I mean, I can say that because it's like, it's so many.
Well, that have gotten stale, though. So that's going to be one that you've probably never thought about. You know? Okay. I mean, that you get what he's saying?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can't come up with anything. I mean, for me, I think like the name has gotten stale. The product hasn't gotten stale, but I feel like Alpine R and S series name, just the name, has gotten stale. It's like, oh, please change the name. But the product keeps changing. That's the nice thing. Like, they keep changing the product, which is cool. So it's not stale. I just don't like the name anymore. I wish they would come out with a cooler name. But hey, whatever. I mean, Rockford's the same. You got punch, and power, and there again. I think the names have gotten kind of stale. The product keeps evolving, but keeping the same stale name. Whereas like your pull there, yeah, I mean, yeah, they really haven't done anything revolutionary in a really long time. Good call. I'm coming down to Tampa to do some installation on some semis next month. Will y'all be open next month on the 11th to the 16th? When are we getting back? The 14th? We get back on the 14th from vacation. So we'll be here the 15th and 16th, so of your schedule. It has premium hardened cardon with a sub. Want to add mono and 10-inch down firing. I guess we're talking about the RAM. You want to pick up the device that is called the PAC Sub Pro. As a PAC Sub Pro, specifically designed for your trucks. It'll be like a PAC Sub Pro CH, I believe 41. It's either 41 or 61 or 51. Either way, go to pac-audio.com. I don't know what I'm doing this for. And pick up the Amp Pro, Sub Pro. Sub Pro if you're only going to add subs. Amp Pro if you plan on adding other amplifiers. What that'll do for you is that'll take the digital signal that's going from the radio to the Harman Kardon amplifier, strip a left and right full range signal out of it, have it go back through its processor and give you a clean as can be subwoofer output. So no bass roll off, no nothing, no crossovers. It's freaking wonderful. And from that does make it easy. Then you just throw some RCAs in there, power ground, hook up your sub, and you got bass. Life is good. I had an MTX 8515 back in 2003, 300 to 500 watts. Was an awesome sub. I miss it. I agree. Hey man, you know, some people get bored. Fernando, what's your dream sound system? Do you have?
I don't have one.
I mean, you own most of what you want your dream sound system to be.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of us putting it in.
I mean, I have.
You have your KRX. You have your Focal KRX2s.
Yeah.
Which, you know, you've always wanted, so we have those. We now have the Moscone amplifier.
Yeah.
So that finishes that. See, the problem is you just can't grow too attached to it because we're going to pull it out.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, we're going to pull it out, put something else in there. Yeah. So
just play with all of it.
He just gets, you know, he just gets to have fun because he gets to just keep playing with stuff. My beloved PPI, PPI dust. Yep. Bit the dust. Oh, that sucks. Jesus, I can't read today. I can't read ever. Will the stock sub need to be deleted when adding an amp and sub to the premium system? You can. That is the nice thing about the Dodge system. If you disconnect the sub from it, it'll just shut that output off on the amplifier, and you don't have to worry about it. So if you'd like to pull it out, go right ahead. If you want to leave it in, that's entirely up to you. My guess is you'll probably want to pull it out because it's not going to... It'll kind of interfere with the sub you're trying to add, so I would yank it. Paragon sales in the house. What's happening? Mike. All right, listen, guys. Hey, we're going to end it here. I know there's a lot of questions that you guys are still asking. That's cool, and thank you. If you'd like to get some of those questions answered, make sure to tune in tonight at 6:30 over on Facebook. That's the 5-Star Car Stereo Facebook page. We do our Monday night Car Stereo Talk where we answer a bunch of questions. And tonight we're going to show you what the heck all this stuff is back here. We got an amplified speaker. We got an IRTA2. We got this power supply. We got whatever the heck this is and an iPad. And this is a Porsche. And there's a module hidden somewhere in the car. So we're going to talk to you all about what we're doing and what we're testing. And tune in tonight. You guys have a great rest of your day. Bye. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Guess what?
What?
I just finished.
Finished what?
My 2-seat tune.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Which 2 seats?
Of course. Watch. Let me show you.
Okay.
Coming over here.
All right.
Center image. Center image. Yeah.
Oh, you're too much, man. Hey, who's this brought to us by?
Hi, guys. today is brought to you by...
Hang on. What's he say? Remove me or else.
Oh, dude, they pretty cool.
Well, those are the nice ones. Yes, that's... Yeah, but now I can't see the logo.
Hi, guys. Today is brought to you by Morel, hi-fi.com. And you can find them here at Morel_America.com. Bye.
You didn't need the .com part, but good enough.
Never mind.
That was good, though. Dude, that was one hell of a promo.
You will. Let me find something.
All right, guys. Well, I know what you're... For those of you going, wait, what? It's a Jeep. It is a Jeep. We just got done with it. The Porsche that we've been working on is right there. We finished that yesterday with the help of our good friend, Mr. Jeff Smith. And we'll talk more about that later. But for right now, we kind of wanted to bring this on. I know it's another Jeep. This is the older... you guys know what it's called. But this is more of an old car tip. So, Bobby, this is your pro tip of the day. When doing an older vehicle like this, the thing you have to keep in mind is the ground for the car. Back in the day, as it were, they didn't really understand ground plane operation. So there was always this little tiny wire like this that grounded to the chassis of the car. And they would run a big wire down here. Usually it would go to the starter, which is like somewhere like there. It keeps going, so it's like the focus is working today. So like that's the starter, or it would come over here and go to the alternator, or just some big piece of metal between there. And that was your ground plane, as it were. This is grounded down here. So those are the only two grounds. And then they would take a braided wire and come off of the block and go to here. So that was kind of your big three, as it were. Okay, this car actually would need a big three. So immediately the first thing you want to do is replace this crappie with a substantially bigger, in this case, 4 gauge. And then we also have another 4 gauge that comes down and goes to another factory ground point here. So in essence, we have our pyramid, as it were, which I think is a much better thought process, our pyramid of grounding. Yes. So the first thing you do when working on an older car like this is pop the hood and check the ground. If you see this, immediately know you need to upgrade that, regardless of whether you're just doing a radio. It doesn't matter. That needs to be replaced. The car will start better. Everyone will be happier. So do that first. The other thing you have to keep in mind too, when doing an older car, is look at your ignition system. If there's anything that says MSD on it, you're going to get noise. You need to pick up an MSD capacitor noise filter for your system. Whatever hot rod shop they used should understand that it needs that. For some reason, they're always cheap and don't do that. I don't know why, because it's only like a $25 part. But they need to get that MSD noise filter put in there, or all you're going to hear is... And the car's just sitting there. The engine might not even be on. So you got to make sure you get filtration for the MSD stuff. Good day. What's up, Baba? So for this, let me turn it around because we don't want to look at me. We did a speaker pod upgrade with some CS kickers. Yep. Had to think about that for a minute. And then in the back here, hold on. I got it. Go ahead, push. All right. We did the 6x9 pods. These are the CS, also 6x9 3-ways. Now, he had bought this center console that had a provision for an 8-inch subwoofer, and the first thing I told him was, no, we're not wasting our time with that. It's going to sound like crap. Don't even bother. Give me 1 second. I'll answer your question. And so what we did is we made him this cool cover for the woofer So, you know, it says Jeep, looks neat. But there you go. So that's that. And then also he wanted a USB charge point. So we made him a new dash bezel because somebody had hacked this all up and it was wavy and whatnot. So we made this to trim out the radio. It just needed a smidge, and also to hold our USB charger.
Well,
let's listen to it. Yay, it's not an F-150. What's up, Arturo? I mean, this thing gets really, really loud. They got it froze.
You guys froze?
Yeah, it froze. It always freezes. It still froze.
You came back? No?
No, it still froze.
That sucks.
Oh, there we go. It's not frozen anymore.
Hey, you guys missed the dance, guys.
You did miss the dance. Boy, Instagram has just been sucking lately.
Do you update your phone?
It updates itself all the time.
No. Right.
I don't know what you're saying. All right, hold on. Let me go back and can I ask a quick question? I watched your Jeep jail speaker video. Is the positive negative wires the same for all 4 3.5s? I just bought the Kenwood speakers you guys used in that video.
3.5.
So when we're replacing the four 3.5s with.
Man,
Yes, the answer is yes. Once you figure out the speakers are all the same. So once you figure out which lead is positive or negative,
right,
so like if we tell you then it will always be either the left or right side. Whether the clip.
To remember the color, I can't remember the color.
Well, it doesn't matter. But once we say it in the video, I believe. So, but what I'm getting at is the left will always be positive, the right will always be negative. So in the video, if we say this color here, let's say it's a gray with a light green stripe,
just match the same side for all of
that
them.
will always that left side of that will always be negative, no matter what the plug looks like with those 3.5s.
Correct.
But I believe the plugs are all the same because it's one speaker fits all. So when you have the same plug in a car for speakers, very, very, very rarely will you have something like almost never. I don't think I've ever ran into it, but I'm going to say rarely just because as soon as I say it, it's always that way. Someone says, I saw it on this.
Basically.
So, yeah, basically, technically. So, yes, you're good.
Yeah.
Just the radio powering it? Yeah, this is just a radio. This is a beach car. So we have this cool Kenwood short chassis, single din, powering these 4 speakers. He wanted it super clean, super simple. There's no top. This is gonna get wet. So we wanted to make sure we put something in here that it's just gonna do its thing. It's just gonna do its thing. Oh snap, Fernando pulling Madonna steps. Strike a pose.
No.
What's the best filter setting for a Pioneer head unit mated to those CX kickers? I feel they bottom out and distort by volume 10. Well, one of the reasons why they might be bottoming on a Pioneer is that the Pioneer comes in powerful mode. The EQ setting out of a default on Pioneer is powerful. So what you may want to do, like in this case, there's no there's no high pass crossover. These are running straight from the radio. But what we've done is we have the bass in the radio at 0. Out of the box, a Pioneer has the bass turned pretty much all the way up. So if you want to, like in this, we only have 6x9s and 5.25s. We could cross these over at like 60 or 70 and let these play all the way down, but we're not having any problems with it. So check your EQ on that Pioneer first. If you have a subwoofer, then don't worry about it. Cross them over at 80 hertz and call it a day. You might want to cross a 5.25 over at 100. The 6x9s, if you have a sub, 70 might be the lowest you want to go, but that's up to you. But in this case, no high pass. It's just, EQ. EQ's doing its job.
Where's my other door? Hi.
It's the doors right there. Any Telluride installations coming up? Honestly, I don't know what's coming up. But if we do...
Bring yours.
Going to upgrade to the Elate Carbon 63As, as I don't think $400 more for the Alto and the Pro. Sorry about that, guys. Internet, it's Instagram. All right, so as I was saying, going to upgrade to the Elate Carbon 63As, as I don't think $400 more for the Alto Tweeter and the Pro set is worth it. Will the D6-1200 be enough? 125 watts per channel, with the MSW being rated at 180 watts. Yeah, you'll be fine. That should be plenty of power to do what you want it to do. Remember, it's plenty of power. That amplifier is plenty of power for those. You guys get hung up on power a lot, which I find kind of amusing. You always worry about underpowering stuff and whatnot, and it's like, listen, an amplifier is only going to power. I mean, okay, the internet is just not my friend as of late. What I was saying is that 120 watts on a set of those is going to be plenty of power to get them so loud it's not even funny. Will they handle more power? Yes. Doesn't mean they'll handle more abuse. It just means they'll handle more power. 120 watts, plenty of power to get those things to do what you need them to do. That's it. We run K2s off of that, and they're just as annoying. But anyways, yes, have no stress. Hey guys, I just got the Kicker Snowman pods. Planning on running passive with the supplied crossover. Do I need to install the bass blocker, or is that only if I'm running active? No, the bass blocker is for the bottom of that small driver in the Snowman pod. If you don't put that in there, they're going to try to play all the way down to 20 hertz, which clearly they can't do. So the bass blocker is to stop them if you're not going to have an active crossover on the other side of it. So yes, run the little passive, run the high pass filter for the 2.5. Thanks, Dean. I'll check the EQ and adjust the crossover. Y'all are awesome. Oh, no problem. Jeff Smith was on CMA Network today. I think he recorded that yesterday. Here's a shocker: CMA is not live. In case you didn't know that, I don't know if they tell everybody, but yeah, CMA is always recorded the day before and then broadcast as live. So like when you're typing in questions and stuff, nobody's seeing those because it was recorded yesterday. They like to do that because they're not down with the whole live and they want it to look as professional and polished as possible, which I can totally understand. I was just going to ask you thoughts on Big 3 upgrade, and I see you're recommending it for that Jeep. Yeah, there again, the age of the vehicle, definitely have to do it. Some of those newer vehicles, you got to be real careful where you're getting your ground points from, and how much power you're actually adding. I'm all for buying a 4x1000 watt amplifier, but come on, guys. What electrical system is going to power this thing? Just because you can get a good deal on a 2000 watt amp, you're going to get more power out of a more efficient, better built, smaller wattage amplifier. I know that doesn't make any sense, but the reality of it is you're not getting the 2000 watts out of this thing in a basic electrical system. You're not. And if you just had a smaller, more efficient amplifier, you'd probably get a lot more sound out of it. But that's a topic for another story. And speaking of topics for another day, hey, Saturday, we're going to have a special guest. Fernando's out of town. I'm going to have a guest host, Brian Mitchell from Arc Audio. Some of you guys know him. He's been on the show before. He's Mr. DSP. So we're going to have DSP Saturday. So get your DSP questions together. Of course, we're going to talk. He's been playing with the new JL Audio Max Tune. I know what you're saying. Wait, he worked for Arc and he's been playing with the JL product? It's a tool for the job. So he's been playing with that a lot lately, as well as doing a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to get him in. We're going to talk about DSP. We're going to talk about some of the frequencies that you might want to look out for when using your EQ. So make sure to tune in Saturday at 6 o'clock as usual. And we will have a special guest. Matrix glitch. I didn't hear last minute. I'm sorry. I'll watch the replay. A problem was on my end. No, there's a problem on our end. Hey Dean, I installed a SCAR 12-inch with a SCAR amp along with a kicker amp for interiors on a 2022 Infinity Q55. Sounds great, but I have the fake muffler coming out of the bass, only it's very annoying. I'm guessing any solution for that? On the Infinities, there again, this should be a simple one to Google. I believe there is a YouTube video showing you how to go into the factory radio and program that out, or there is a module located on the passenger. There's a module. So I know the last one of those we just went on to YouTube and it was right there. So it was either there or a forum. What you wanna search is ANC bypass 2022 Infinity QX55. That's ANC, automatic noise canceling. Even though it's fake engine noise, most of the time it's referred to as ANC. You might also want to type in fake exhaust noise, but one of those two searches should yield you a video on how to bypass it for that car. It's a little bit, but it's usually either you unplug something or you're programming something through the radio. I'll be running them into my Kenwood DSP and crossing them over at 500 hertz. Still need it? Nope. If you're doing that, you're cool with the Snowman. That'll be all you need to do. Yeah, that's only if you're not going to be using an amplifier on them. One thing I did notice that one, it senses the door open. It does not do it. Yeah, so how ANC and noise canceling works is usually if you roll down the windows or open the door, it automatically shuts it off because it's smart and it's listening to... it knows when those things are open in order to deactivate them, because you don't want to open and close the door and have the subwoofers go boom, boom every time you open and close the door, which is what would happen. So it knows when the door opens to automatically shut it off and then wait for the door to close, counts to 3 and turns back on. Sometimes it also works when you roll up and down the window, because if you roll down the windows and you're getting a lot of wind noise in the cabin, you don't want the subwoofer to try to cancel that out. So there are situations where it does automatically shut off, but you still need to go in and bypass it. Yeah. Afternoon. How are you? Problem I'm having now, LOL, electricity. It's never enough electricity. Too much powwow. Thanks for everything y'all do for the audio community. Keep it up. We'll do. Hey, and speaking of audio community, don't forget tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, Hi-Fi Vega and myself are back in the Hi-Fi Vega network, so we'll be doing reverse polarity as well as side jag after that, where we're going to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi show. So make sure to tune in for that. But side jag, of course, being what it is, which is the most serious show on 12 volt in the industry. Make sure to tune into that tonight. It'll be back. We've been off for 2 weeks because between Knowledge Fest and his vacation, he is sick. So hopefully we'll be okay with doing the show. He says he's on board to do it, so we'll see how it goes. But definitely tune in for the 8:30. I don't know if we'll go to side jag. I'm going to leave that up to him and see how he feels. But he's a trooper, so... is there an average of, say, $1 per watt when looking at amp cost?
All right.
You okay?
Hi, guys. Did I tell you this show is brought to you by Morel? Hi-Fi.com. All right. Back to the question.
No, there's no such thing as dollar per watt anymore, because it just depends on how much effort the manufacturer has put into their development when designing an amplifier. So, there are cheaper amplifiers out there, and you have to look at what's involved in the amplifier manufacturing process. So, for example, what I mean by that is, be careful. It's a lot of fun to drive.
Oh,
you might want to slide the seat up. I slid it up. What I mean by that is whether it's designed here, whether it's designed overseas, whether if it's an off-the-rack part, whether they actually have retailers like us, what kind of marketing they do. Is the marketing just online? Do they have warehouses? Do they have rep firms? Are they, so there's a lot of things that add into what denotes the cost of an amplifier. So when you look at somebody like Kicker, for example, that employs several several engineers, both acoustical and electrical engineers, you have that to factor into the price of the design, because their team is working. And the average time it takes for Kicker to develop a product is about 2 years. Whereas it might take somebody that just calls up and says, hey, I need an amp to do this, this, and this, maybe 3 weeks. So it kind of depends at what you're looking at. Are you looking to just make money, or are you looking to make a product that does specific things? When you look at like a Kicker key, it's 50 watts by 4. And you're like, 50 watts by 4, what is that going to give me? Well, it does a lot of things for 50 watts by 4, and it sounds pretty amazing. But you got a 100 watt amp, 200 watt amp, got a 200 watt amp, and it costs, I think it's what, $249 now, maybe less. I don't know. I haven't priced one out in a while since the vid is taking over. You could probably get a 500 by 4 from somebody else that just internets it out. So yeah, that dollar per watt really doesn't exist anymore. The industry has kind of sparsed itself out. Cars have active sound. Yep. Yeah, it's not just your headphones. Infinities have active sound as to be disconnected. Yes. I've seen a few people on your live chats not pleased with Mark Levinson Lexus systems, but I think it sounds great. What's the issue? This is a conversation I have with a lot of people. We'll just use that. Some friends, some people that know what I do for a living and ask me the question. I just actually had this conversation yesterday. I went in for a physical with my doctor, and he wanted to talk about this very same question. And here's something to think about, okay? When you compare, let's say, and we won't just pick out Mark Levinson, because people complain about every system. The Porsche Outback has the 200 speaker, and I'm being facetious, Brewmeister system. The guy absolutely hated it, okay? And I mean, we're talking a four-way set. Had a four-way set up front. That's right, four-way set up front, center channel, 3 ways in the back door, 2 ways in the D pillar. I mean, there's 10 speakers in the rear of the car plus a subwoofer. Okay, it was amazing. It's huge. You get in the car and sound is everywhere. You want to know why he thought it sucked? Because at his house he has a big surround sound system. His home amplifier cost him more than most of you guys pay for your cars, myself included. All Macintosh amplifiers, big ass home speakers. So when he sits down to listen to music, he's sitting down in a theater that sounds like better than a concert. And then he gets into his car that he paid a lot of money for, and it doesn't deliver. It's not how he likes to listen to his music. So you have to use your examples to decide on what things sound good. So not saying I don't know you personally, but I'm just there again, working towards the lowest common denominator here on how to answer this question. In my experience, what I've found is that when the guy comes in and he has a sound bar, no matter how great the sound bar is, you go buy a Sonos sound bar, which they sound phenomenal. I've sat in the Sonos store and listened to them like, wow, these sound really good. But they don't compare to what I have for a home theater. My home theater is way better. But these sound good. Now, if that's your reference point, what I like to call the soundbar group, well then, yeah, a Mark Levinson system, a Brewmeister system, or a Brouhaha, or a B&O, or all that stuff probably sounds pretty good because your entry into audio isn't a high bar to begin with. So now when you talk critical listening, like I want it to sound like this, you really don't have like this level of like, pinkies out. There are some people that just appreciate really good audio, and they know when they hear it and they just want to have it. And I love those guys because they just come in and say, look, I know this is going to sound like crap, I want something better. Or I know I want it louder, or I know I want it to do this. But for everybody else that isn't into that, then it's like, what kind of headphones are you listening to? Oh, I have a set of Beats by Dre's. And it's like, really? Okay. I mean, they don't sound bad, but you put on a really nice set of other headphones, maybe some plain R's. God forbid you put on some electrostatics. And then you're like, holy Jesus, man, what is on my ears? So that's the problem. It's not that anyone is specifically complaining about that system. It's just the experience that they're having isn't what they're accustomed to, and they want it to sound better. Now, they may have had a really badass system in a previous car. So now that's how those systems don't meet expectation. It's not that they sound bad. It's just to that individual, they're used to something different. So don't take it the wrong way. Like if someone goes, man, this thing sucks, put it in its position. You know, like if I was to make somebody an alcoholic beverage, since I don't drink, I have no idea how these things are supposed to taste. And that sounds pretty good. Some guy spits it. I was like, oh, this is terrible. And I'm like, really? I have nothing to base it on. So, you know. For JBL stadium speaker components in front and coax in the rear, would you recommend a D4.800 and go passive, or JBL DSP and go active? Ooh, so I'm kind of on the side of louder. Like, I love that DSP amplifier from JBL, but it's 25 by 8. I don't know how much power the stadium's speakers need. But that D4.800 is a lot of power. It's 120 watts by 4. And aren't those the 3.3 ohm speakers, which means you're going to get even more power. So if you're looking for maximum loudness, you're going to be really happy with that D4.800. Hold on. All right, so hold on. I got to check this out. They ain't coming in. I think the front's going to... I don't think so, because it's looking really low. We're probably going to have to take the splitter off. What are we doing?
Ready.
Dude, really? All right. Hey, listen, guys, I would love to sit and chat for the rest of the day, but unfortunately we got to do something else. So thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget, tonight you can find me on the Hi-Fi Vega Network. We'll be doing our chat, reverse polarity, side jag. Tune in tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock for the news show over on Dean and Fernando's Car Stereo Clips. And make sure to be on the YouTube channel Saturday. We're going to do DSP Talk with your friend and mine, Brian Mitchell from Arc Audio. So tune in. We got an action-packed time coming up for you over the next couple days. So stay tuned. Bye.